other day, I did something rare. I did some shopping. I know what you're thinking. How is that rare? It was because I didn't do it online or on an app. I went for the real deal. You know, walking through aisles, trying out sizes, waiting in line. But 10 minutes in, and I was exhausted. Not because it was tiring, but because it was an instant. Somewhere between one click checkouts and same day deliveries, convenience had quietly rewired my patience without me even realizing it. And I remember thinking, if something as ordinary as shopping has changed this much, what about how we think, connect, and feel? This question has transpired for this talk. Hi, my name is Chinju Thomas, and I am a certified life coach with project management experience. I've always been fascinated by the space where technology meets humanity, and sometimes where it quietly replaces it. Intelligence. It's a word we all know too well, but its meaning has changed drastically over years. I'll explain. In my school days, intelligence was measured almost entirely by exam scores, how much you could memorize and reproduce. Fortunately for the students today, that's no longer the case. Because let's be honest, any search bar can do that for you in seconds. Today, there are two kinds of intelligence: the one we are born with, the part that makes us who we are, and the one we've built, the part we now call artificial intelligence or AI. And today, true wisdom is knowing how to balance both. How many of us here have opened Instagram just to check one reel? And then suddenly it's 45 minutes later, and you found your personality type, you've learned how to bake a cookie, and even survive a bear attack. Yeah, that's all of us. Somewhere between just one more and this is the last one, time disappears faster than our attention span. And it's not the phone that pulls us in, it's the AI behind it, predicting exactly what we'll pause on, what we like, and what will keep us scrolling just a little longer. Today, what we see, like, and scroll can shape what we feel, think, and even who we eventually become. We ask Siri for reminders, Alexa for music, and ChatGPT for, well, everything else. AI has become our classmate, our companion, and our colleague. The world quite literally is at our fingertips. We are living in the best of times, but also, in some ways, the blurriest. According to a global study by Pew Research Center, two-thirds of teenagers believe AI will change what it means to be human. But most have never paused long enough to think how. And that's where it begins: the quiet trade off between what's convenient and what's real. They say we are the average of the five people we spend the most time with. But when three of those voices are automated, we quieten the voice that matters the most: our own. As a millennial, I have seen both worlds. Back then, when we needed answers, we didn't Google them. We pulled out something called an encyclopedia. It's a giant book with tiny print and no search bar. Today, everything is instant. If you search on Google, you get pages of what you think you're looking for. If you ask any of the AI apps, you get versions of an almost exact answer. And if you don't ask, the algorithm still responds. It recommends. In my childhood, the only algorithm was my mother telling me what to do. Back then, ads interrupted our favorite shows. Now, ads are our stories and reels. Time moved slower then, and we invented games when we were bored. Today, the skip button shows up before impatience does. Videos have gone from long form to 60 seconds, and yet we watch them. We watch them at 2x speed. We're constantly consuming and constantly consumed. We're overwhelmed with possibilities. How many of us here have saved reels thinking, I should get to this later when I have time? And somehow, later has never come. And in a world where the aesthetics of a moment often matter more than the moment itself, be it for food or travel, what happens to our relationships? We are busy building minds that think faster, but forgetting hearts that feel deeper. We've made life efficient and emotions optional. Every ping trains us to respond faster. Every scroll keeps us wanting more. Research shows that our attention span has been steadily declining. We've now become a generation looking down at our virtual world without looking up to see how beautifully the real world still shows up for us. You know what's funny? We still talk about so much about wanting peace, and yet we don't see the irony. We're scrolling past the very stillness we say we're searching for. We all know that time is the actual currency of tomorrow's world. So maybe we need to stop trading it for convenience, especially when the cost of everything that makes us feel alive is the price that we pay. Which brings me to the most important question of all. If the world keeps getting smarter every day, how do we stay human? For me, it begins with four simple shifts. And the first one starts in the place we often forget to check within ourselves. Studies show today that there is a global rise in mental health challenges, not because people have become weaker, but because speed, comparison, noise, pressure, and overstimulation have become stronger. There used to be a time when we knew exactly what we felt, but now we often scroll before we can even name the feeling. We're just trying to escape. There is a need for connection, or rather, reconnection. Reconnecting with the part of us that existed long before screens. Before we train machines to think better, we need to train ourselves to feel better. Inner intelligence isn't IQ, it is EQ. It is the tone you use when you talk to yourself. It is choosing criticism, it is choosing curiosity over criticism, compassion over control. And this brings us to the first shift: reconnect inwards. Sometimes it looks like journaling. Sometimes it's just taking 3 slow breaths. And sometimes it's simply looking up long enough to realize that life is happening in the small, quiet places that we keep skipping. Reconnecting inwards helps us understand ourselves, but the world outside us is fast, loud, and digitally equipped. So then the next question becomes, if technology is here to stay, how do we use it without letting it use us? I still remember a conversation with an older Uber driver a few years ago. He told me how he was in awe of Google Maps, how it showed him alternate routes to places he had known his entire life, routes that he never knew existed. It was so beautiful to see him adopt technology. Don't get me wrong, AI isn't the enemy, it's the mirror. It reflects what we feed it. When I was planning a family trip recently, I asked AI to help me compare flights, shortlist hotels, and plan itineraries. It did in minutes what would have taken me hours or even days. And that freed me to focus on what truly mattered, how I wanted us to spend time, what memories I wanted us to make. This brings me to the second shift: integrate AI wisely. We should absolutely use AI. There is no two ways about it. But we should use it to fill the gaps in our lives, not to create holes we lose ourselves in. Let AI do what it's brilliant at: pattern, precision, speed, and let us do what we are brilliant at: empathy, imagination, ethics. AI can generate content, but only we can create meaning. AI can analyze data, only we can understand emotion. Technology should be our tool and not our identity. When used consciously, it doesn't replace creativity, it amplifies it. Imagine if every young person here learned not just how to use technology, but how to use it mindfully and intentionally. That is the education the future really needs. Now, if integrating AI wisely helps us navigate a fast world, the next shift helps us navigate a lonely one. Because the truth is, even with technology everywhere, we are losing something far more precious: each other. I'll tell you a story. I'm someone who's always been big on birthdays. My friends will tell you I'm that person who never forgets to wish. But over the years, the phone call slowly turned into a WhatsApp status, and then to an Insta story, and now sometimes it's just a text. Last year, I wished a friend on our WhatsApp group, and she replied, Chinju, thank you, but will I get a phone call or do I need to raise a ticket? We both laughed, but I felt the sting. Somewhere along the way, I hadn't just stopped calling, I had stopped showing up for the people in my world. And when we stop showing up, relationships don't break, they fade. This is the third shift: strengthen real relationships. Look up, cherish moments, choose people over pixels. We are busy making memories that we forget to experience them. The more digital our life becomes, the more intentional our relationships must be. Apps once designed for connection now measure our responsiveness with colored ticks and scene stamps. We are more connected than ever, yet communication is almost a lost art. I'm learning that in today's world, presence is still the purest form of love. Not likes, not comments, just pure attention. Because in the end, no notification is more important than the person in front of you. Strengthening relationships, of course, begins with looking up from our screens. But it doesn't end there, because connection isn't just with people, it's also with the world around us. And sometimes the world taps us on the shoulder in the simplest of ways. One evening, I stepped outside just as the sky was turning pink. Out of habit, I reached out for my phone to take a picture, but the battery had died. I sighed, looked up, and for the first time in a very long time, I really saw the sky. I realized I had spent so many sunsets trying to capture them that I had forgotten how to experience them. So I just stood there and watched the colors change. It was beautiful, but I did that not for a reel, not for a story. I did it for myself. And this is the final shift: engage with the real world. Remember, life doesn't refresh, it unfolds. Engaging with the real world means choosing moments that don't ask to be recorded, reposted, or reacted to. It could be taking a walk without earphones, eating without scrolling, or even listening without waiting to reply. We are in a race against time, but the world, that's still there, alive, textured, imperfect. and yet beautiful. But we only experience it when we step into it. Empathy, connection, and creativity, things that make us human, aren't upgrades that we can download. They are choices we make, moment by moment. The four shifts, I call them the RISE framework. R stands for reconnect inwards, I stand for integrate AI wisely, S stands for strengthen real relationships, and E stands for engaging with the real world. Because we shouldn't just survive a smart world, we need to rise in it. The future doesn't need us to compete with machines, it needs us to rise, not above technology, above distraction. Maybe it was never about thinking faster, but about feeling deeper. That day in the store, surrounded by lines and waiting, I found something technology could never give me: the time to slow down. So, in this age of artificial intelligence, between the pings, the likes, and the instant gratification, will we pause long enough to remember what it feels like to be human? I hope we do. Because the world may soon let AI decide almost everything. It's halfway there. But we should never let it decide the kind of human we become. So slow down, breathe. Don't let technology fill your life with what doesn't fulfill you. And the next time you see a pink sky, keep your phone away and tune into the algorithm of your inner voice. Because in the end, every choice we make is a chance to return to what's truly and beautifully human. Thank you.